In this video, we are going to look specifically at work problems as it relates to rationals. So the work formula we have is, in order to find the total work, so 1 over x or x total, you're going to have 1 over the first time plus or minus 1 over the second time. Now, plus or minus is going to be determined based on the problem you have been given. Okay, so you would use plus if you are working together. So your plus sign here would be if you are both working together. Now, the negative sign down here would be essentially if you have working against each other. So a classic example for that would be one time is filling an object, whereas the other is emptying the object. That would be two things that are working against each other, therefore you would subtract. So a big part of it is going to come from reading your problem and determining, are you working together or are you working against each other? Okay. So I have a couple examples here, and let's just read them and see what happens. So the first one says that crane A can unload a ship in 30 hours by itself, and crane B can unload it in 24 hours. How long did it take to unload the ship? So what we're talking about here is we're talking about them working together. So here I would do 1 over crane A plus 1 over crane B is going to be 1 over the total time, so how long it took. So in this case, crane A was 30 hours, so we have 1 over 30 plus crane B was 24, so 1 over 24 is equal to 1 over x, because we don't know how long it takes. So with this, we need to be able to find a least common denominator, or a common denominator. One way to go about finding it is to simply take 30 times 24 times x. In other words, all of your denominators, multiply them together, and that will give you your least. Now, one of the reasons why I wrote it out this way is because once you find that common denominator, you have to multiply each term by that common denominator. So if we leave it spread out like this, what you can see is in your first one, if I multiply this first fraction by 30, 24, and x, the 30 goes away and what stays behind is 24x. In the second one, what goes away is 24 and what stays behind is 30x. In the last one, what goes away is x and what stays behind is 30 times 24. So now we can go ahead and combine. And so here you're going to have 24 plus 30 gives you 54. So this is going to end up being 54x is equal to, and now we're going to multiply. 30 times 24 is 720. And then we need to go ahead and divide. So x is going to be 720 over your 54, and so you want to go ahead and reduce that as far as you can. So one way, easy way to reduce it is to just start dividing out by even. So one of the things that I know is that both can be divided by 2 because they're both even numbers. But if you look at 720 and 54, I know automatically I can pull out a 9. If I pull out a 9 from the top, I'm left with 80. If I pull it out from the bottom, I'm left with 6, which at least gets me down a little bit further. Then what you can notice is 80 and 6 are both even. And so this again can reduce down further to being 40 over 3, which we would go ahead and say is reduced. So in this case you would have that x was 40 over 3 hours. Now notice I left it in fraction form because when we are dealing with the work formula, we want fractions, not decimals. So you need to be very careful and make sure that your answers match what it is you're trying to do. Alright, this one says that a hose can fill a pool in 12 hours and the pump can completely drain a full pool in 20 hours. If the valve for the pump was accidentally left open when the hose was put in to fill it, how long will it take to fill the pool? So here we have two things working together, or working against each other. So first we have that we are filling the pool, and it's going to take a positive 12 hours. Then we have that we are going to empty the pool, and this takes a negative 20 hours. So if we want to know how long it takes, we can set it up. So we have 1 over filling the pool minus 1 over emptying the pool is going to equal 1 over the time. So fill in what we know. This is 1 over 12 minus 1 over 20 is equal to 1 over x. Again, we need to have a least common denominator. So like before, we could simply do 12 times 20 times x. Okay, and that would give us a least common denominator. Now another way that we can do it is we can look at 12 and 20, and we can look at what might be a small value that they both would go into. So we could also use a least common denominator and use 60x. Okay? So either idea will work to get you exactly what it is you want. It just depends on how you're the most comfortable. So in the previous problem I showed you working where you just simply multiplied it all together. In this one I'm going to show you using more of an LCD term that we used. So here I am going to again multiply this entire equation by your LCD, and I'm going to use 60x as my LCD. So in this case I have 60x times 1 over 12 minus my 60x times 1 over 20 equals that 60x times 1 over x. So if we look, 60 over 12 is going to reduce down to 5, so this is going to give me a 5x. Then I have 60 over 20, which is going to give me a 3x. And then my x's go away and leaves me with 60. 5 minus 3 gives me a 2x equals my 60. So x here is going to equal 30, and this is hours. So here this was the result that we were looking for. So there you have it, two different work problems. One where both are working together and one where you are working against each other. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If you feel like you want to see some more examples, let me know that too, and I would be more than happy to work them out. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did, and I will see you next time.